Resolution 100307, authorizing an application to the FDA and authorizing an IGA with the City of Portland. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Maybe as just a little bit of background for our two new board members. The two elements that are reserved to you as board are to authorize us if we are to apply for federal funds, and we have a lot of applications to federal funds, so you'll see these types of resolutions oftentimes. Second, for us to be able to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with generally another government here within the region, likewise requires your authorization. And we utilize intergovernmental agreements for a lot of different purposes, not just in this case for funding or transferring funds, but to be able to shared use on different pieces of property or a whole host of other things. So in both cases, somewhat typical. This resolution is specific to a particular federal grant program that was created relatively recently. It is referred to as the Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery Grant Funds. That is shortened to TIGER funds, T-I-G-E-R funds. You may have seen some reports in the news media that the City of Portland and we and others who made application for these funds had received not all of what we asked for, but about a little over half of what we had asked. That is $23.6 million. Those funds are intended to be able to reconstruct Moody Avenue. That's kind of down in near the base of the tram. But as that River Place area is redeveloping, a number of things need to be done, relocating of Moody, raising it by 14 feet, and a series of other things to prepare for both streetcar as well as light rail and other development in that area will be able to, or at least portions of it will be able to be funded by this grant. As a result, this resolution allows us to be able to apply for funds from the federal government under the so-called TIGER program. Now, the second step of that is to authorize us also to enter into an intergovernmental agreement, again, particularly for the new board members. We are the federal recipient designee for federal transportation grant funds through the Federal Transit Administration. Portland is not. So consequently, we are the applicant for those funds. And when they flow to us, we then enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland, essentially transferring those funds. Now, we still have a responsibility to ensure they're spent on the appropriate things, that accounting methods are there, all the other sorts of types of requirements. But the actual expender of those funds, the ones who will be overseeing the construction of the reconstruction of Moody Avenue, will be the City of Portland. So in this case, the resolution authorizes us to apply for those $23.6 million and then to be able to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Portland so that they may be in fact a subrecipient of those funds to be able to carry out the purposes of that fund. We urge your approval.
I have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Discussion, yes.
Can't we get a finder's fee for this?
We actually do some of this by the goodness of our hearts, but we also, the oversight charges, we do actually are reimbursed for our direct costs on the oversight. So maybe not quite a finder's fee.
That reminds me, Lynn's point is our reputation for completing projects on time and on budget at the FTA table has been an important component to our being welcome there and continuing to receive what some would consider to be an excess amount of requests. Do we put that reputation at risk on the completion of any of these projects for which we have stood in place for the city?
Well, the reputation is really for the region as a whole, and of course, if somehow there is a problem, that does inevitably affect. The issue depends on what the reason for that problem is. Is it really beyond the control, or was it something that could have been managed? We do watch these issues very closely because we believe that as the grant recipient, we are the primary entity to whom the federal government looks when they are looking at the application or the use of these funds. And so, yes, we pay very, very close attention.
Yet we have no oversight responsibilities on
We actually do have some oversight responsibilities because we are the grant recipient. Neil probably could go through in much greater detail than I.
I don't want to take up more time than is necessary, but I mean, I think that, did we provide the federal paths for the tram?
No, and actually, I don't believe there were any major, anyway, federal funds involved in the tram.
Yep.
So that was off that table. But for example, this is very parallel to the relationship that we have right now with the city regarding the construction of the streetcar loop on the east side. So that, and in that regard, we are, as the general manager noted, reimbursed for our direct costs. Plus, we have oversight responsibilities to make sure that the program achieves the key milestones and budget objectives that the MTA has set.
The streetcar, for the benefit of our new board members, is a separate entity from TriMet. Often lumped together in the eye of the public as all part of the public transit system, but we really have no role or responsibility other than, Fred, are you still a board member of that entity?
We are, and Neil generally attends for me, but the answer is yes, we are. And we also have determined that we fund a certain amount of the operating costs of Streetcar, that which is a offset against which we would have had to supply bus service, but for the Streetcar.
Okay. So I know at the present time, I mean, the Streetcar, in my mind, has sort of moved from the hobby level to a more significant piece of work, and I know what goes into projects, capital projects that we are responsible for and manage. And Neil, you've done an outstanding job, you and your team in that area. But I just hope that that oversight that you refer to is something that we keep a sharp eye on to make sure these streetcar projects are completed on time and on budget as well.
The answer is yes, and in fact, our approval is required if there are to be any kind of major shifts or substitutions or other sorts of things. I think we're also very confident on the construction side, at least of the East Side Streetcar project, that a very experienced contractor with whom we've worked in the past, Stacy Whitback, is that contractor, and that also gives us confidence.
Okay. All right. Did we vote on that yet?
No.
Okay, motion, second, further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, resolution's approved.